Ready or not, we go they come with the wicked day sound. Be ready for more. We go they kill them with the wicked day sound. Yes, people, this is Rocky Dawuni coming to you live and direct from Africa Global Radio. Don't touch that dial.
Time now to expose, if I may put it that way, unveil our special guest for this afternoon. As I indicated earlier, he is from right here in Ghana. And he was actually nominated for a Grammy Award for his 6th album, Branches of the Same Tree, which stands as testimony to his universal appeal. Now, this proud Ghanaian artiste has recently released a single, Champion Arise, and although it could well be a boast about his own career, it is instead shining the light of his audience, encouraging his listeners to find that champion within. Well, let's get a taste of that very one as we usher in our guest on the afternoon. I'm sure when I play this, you'll get to know his name.
I listen to Africa Global Radio. Make una tune in, now then the better tunes they come out from.
The champion arise, we shall win. The champion arise, we shall win. Whoa. Stronger and alive, we shall win. Let another spiritual war begin. Don't say it could not be done until they see it done. Don't say it could not be you until you know it's you, my friend. My friend. When the humble pop their bubble, they don't ever see it come. They tumble to the magic of the word and the sound forever. I believe now they come around and ask me, oh, that. Tell them he's the children of Judah. Breaker of a chain and the ruler. Everybody's spreading, everybody doing it, everybody saying yeah. A champion arise, we shall win. A champion arise, we shall win.
Champion arise, we shall definitely win. Africa Global Radio rocking it right here with the man, Rocky Dawuni. You know, I get like this with him, yeah, because, Charlie, Rocky, we go back a bit. I wouldn't say way back, but, Charlie, we go back a bit.
Yes,
Rocky Dawuni.
Yes, my brother.
Wow.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How about you?
Well, I can't complain. It's, a beautiful day, just to be out here, driving in. I was coming right from the mountains, from, Iburi down, and then, observing Accra come to life and everybody just going about, You just got to give thanks when you wake up, beautiful day, everything is okay, and everybody is focusing on trying to, brighten where they are, so wow. We give thanks for that.
We give thanks. We give thanks. And I know, now that you mentioned you're coming from Ibri, I know in the past, there have been things that you've been doing from way up. I know Robert Nesta Marley's wife setting up a studio somewhere up there that went up in flames at some time back. Would you happen to have been coming from that place? Because I know you're trying to, set up something there.
Yes. Currently, I took possession of that space, and we are in the process of, rebuilding it.
Revamping it, right?
Yeah.
Because I know it got burnt down, unfortunately, right before it could open.
Yeah, after it was completed, there was a fire that, burnt it down, and I've been, friends with the family for a long time. And, currently, in the process of, rebuilding, rebranding, turning it into a whole different place with new ideas. And, it's in my hands right now. So it's going to be something that really reflects our culture and, art and creativity and the intersection point of that, especially with spaces too that, can be able to spur, empowerment and giving the youth the tools to be able to appreciate what we have, at the same time to utilize our culture, as a means for moving, further ahead. Africa needs a lot of that right now, and I feel that space is going to be a space of inspiration too. Yeah.
Rocky Dawuni is in our studios here in Africa Global Radio. He is one of our own, a son of the soil. Of course, he shuttles between Accra, Ghana, and other places in Ghana and Los Angeles, Hollywood, I should say. Well, let's hit the nail on the head, Rocky. What first got you into music?
Well, there was never like something got me into music. I think music was always a part of who I was, because at a very early age, I recognized, that sound and music were like, anytime I heard music play on the radio, anytime I heard somebody playing a record, anytime I heard even our traditional performances, it was something that was so attractive to me, and I was drawn to it. And when you're young, when you're a kid too, I think that there's certain, you start making sense of the world. There's certain things that start resonating with you that you feel like a deeper connection to it. And that's how I felt towards music and sound. And then I recognized also that this was something that I understood it so deeply that it will be a pathway for me. But at the same time too, once I came into my own self-knowledge, I recognized that I just didn't want to be any kind of musician, but I wanted to be a musician that could use that art form too as a means of expression, telling my own story, making it a medium by which I could also not only engage with my own culture or my own people, but, make it a conduit of engagement too of the African diaspora, our brothers and sisters, out in different parts of the world who needed a kind of cultural connection. I felt that music could become that foundation to connect Africa to the diaspora and at the same time to be able to tell the history of Africa forward. So my music has always been, had that intention, not only a means to entertain, enlighten, inspire, but also a conduit of connection for Africa and then the African diaspora. And my sound is a reflection of that too.
It's interesting you talk about your sound because a lot of people have struggled to, well, maybe not struggled, but attempted figuring out your sound. It's a blend of so many things. You have a bit of reggae in there, Afrobeat in there, high life and soul music. It's a hodgepodge of many things and you do it so beautifully. I'll tell you what, one thing that attracted me to you, the song that started it off for me was In Ghana. and I mean, that was just it right from the very start. I heard that song and I've never looked back.
Yeah, that song was just kind of a song that really opened the way. But it was also a song to celebrate Ghana as, the champion of African liberation. So it's a song for not only Ghanaians, but all Africans.
You know what? I want you to listen to a bit of that song right before we proceed. It's called In Ghana. This is an interview made in Ghana. Rocky Dawuni in the studio, rocking it.
Charlie, what happened? You're tuned to Africa Global Radio. My name is Manifest from Accra, Ghana. Bless us.
Time now for jubilation. Oh God, I wish I had an answer. Causing sweet love, our spirits will grow. We're sitting down every day, and then behind the wall the smiling sun stores. The people all know the reason why we still grow. So brothers, be jamming, yes, be jamming, yeah. We'll be jamming today, hiding it, oppressor man running, whilst we jumping, yeah. We'll be jamming today, so say it's good from Rasta. In Ghana, we're stopping all the suffering. In Ghana, I say it's good from Africa. In Ghana, Jaja seals and signs and delivers.
Delectable music coming through from the indefatigable Rocky Dawuni.
Heard you.
He still is here in the studios of Africa Global Radio, the show brought to you in collaboration with the Creative Writing Academy. We'll be telling you a bit more about them as the show proceeds. But how would you describe your genre of music, Rocky Dawuni?
Well, I call it Afro roots, and by Afro roots, I mean that it's a song that a musical form that is steeped in the traditions and culture of Africa. But at the same time, too, it's global, and as interpreted, you know, through my influences, and it's literally a reflection of my journey as an artist. So. Afro roots contains from traditional African styles, our cultural, ethnic musical styles, to contemporary African styles from highlife music, juju, Afrobeat.
Juju, Femi, Fela Kuti come to mind.
Yes, I mean, these are all music, highlife music that influenced me as a youth when I was growing up. And then also global forms of, I would say, global styles of music from hip hop to reggae music to soul. The thing is that, genres are created by through your experience. You got to be able to express who you are and what you are and where you're going through the sound that you project. That's the only way where you can be able to tell your truth.
So basically, you're telling a story.
You're telling your story and then also representing your truth. And my truth is Afro root sound. Within that that framework, I can go, I write songs. It all boils down to the songwriting. I can write songs. The song will be like a fusion of high life and reggae music, high life dance hall, reggae music, and so you're able to expand your realm sonically because you're steeped in all these incredibly rich foundations of sounds that you draw from, and that's what Afro roots for me represents.
Now, you've collaborated with a number of artists, some on the African continent, others that some of the artists here can only dream of. I mean, some of the biggest stars out of there, you've collaborated with them. Who would be, what would be the collaborations that for you have meant the most, that for you felt, well, this is it. I mean, to have these people on my album, on my songs, that's been great.
Well, the thing is that I have always never been big on collaborations.
Wow.
To begin with, collaborations for me, it came at some point. I felt they were a gimmick. I'm just coming to a point. At some point, it was like, an artist. If you wanted to move ahead, you find somebody that will be on your song and it will amplify the song, which was great. It was a great marketing tool, But for me, I wanted to do collaborations when they were really organic and the song presented itself in that, the song presented the opportunity for the right collaborations. I think one of the, I would say, collaborations that I did that is, became really famous and very popular was for a project called Playing for Change. There was a collaboration with me and Bono.
Bono, yeah.
Yeah, which was a huge, American Billboard, top 10 album, huge record, globally. And, this song that was, and then on that same album too, I did a collaboration with Akakpo, who's one of the multiple Grammy award winning American blues artists. So that album, there was a lot, and then there's also collaborations that were not, let's say, song based, but it was mostly stage based. Like working with Stevie Wonder, doing concerts with Stevie Wonder was really an amazing experience because for me, growing up, Stevie represented to me the epitome of, when it comes to musical excellence. So as an artist, when my journey to provided the opportunity for me to start doing shows with him, one was when I was doing a concert in Los Angeles, launching my album, Book of Changes, when Stevie came to the concert and then joined me on stage for a rendition of, Wake the Town.
Wow.
That was really an incredible experience. And then a few years later on, I was invited to join Stevie Wonder and also other top global artists, including Janelle Monáe, and, at the Hollywood Bowl, for close to 20,000 people in one of the biggest venues in the world, for me was like a very high point in my career as an artist, because, it's one thing being an artist with a vision here, and then working on the vision, and then, gradually seeing the acceptance, and then not only acceptance by your peers, but acceptance to the point where you get opportunity to also intersect and interact with some of the legends that you have molded your career and have followed the path. As an artist, it's really something that it's satisfying at the same time too. It's inspiring that you are on the right path and you just need to keep working hard at what you're doing and keep elevating your current status and spreading your music far and wide. So for me, Afro Roots and my music and the journey and collaborations and connections, I would say on the global level, those are the ones that I've felt that. But then I have also done collaboration with a lot of artists here too, so I won't diminish the
I know you've collaborated with, Sarkodie on Chechembie Dimewu, Stonebwoy
yes.
on that.
Yes,
what's the title of the Wickedest Sound?
With Wiala on Sunshine Day, with Samini on Black Star. So there has been also the
very good African representation right there.
Yes. I mean, for me, it's a beautiful way to connect. And then there's also other collaborations that I've done that are yet to see the light of day, that are from within here. So, it's collaborations for me has to be meaningful. For me, it's hard for me to play into a gimmick and say that, okay, I'm doing collaboration because it's strategic. But as an artist, you have to have a strategic mindset to all of it. But for me, sometimes I feel that all of it can be achieved if you follow your heart. And there's the right song, and if
you follow your heart,
and then there's the right artist that virtually make that song, become even a beautiful piece of art.
Let's talk about that piece of art you speak of, because in 2016 you were hoping to bag that Grammy. And for Ghana, as you said in the aftermath, unfortunately, that wouldn't be our first moment of grabbing a Grammy. But that was with Branches of the Same Tree, that album. How did you feel in the aftermath of that? We're all rooting for you. I mean, I remember that day I didn't watch the actual event, but I was just praying that it would go your way and we could celebrate our first Grammy.
Well, the thing is that we are too stuck on celebrating the Grammy, recognizing that when you are nominated
itself,
that is actually the biggest victory of it. I mean, imagine in our history since 1957 and from beyond, we have never had a nomination.
Yeah.
So our celebration should have been the point that we have now had a nomination for our musical genre, and then it's also a stepping stone to others being able to get another nomination, because you need a nomination. You just can't win with another nomination. So we need some nominations here, and then eventually if there's a win, that's great. But being nominated for a Grammy is as equal as being winning. There's going to be only one person that's going to come out of that
pool. Yeah.
So for me, it was breaching a wall and creating a platform, a new platform for our artists to be able to stand on now, to reach for even higher heights. Because sometimes it's not about when you're nominated for the first time, then it's a shoe-in for you. A lot of artists have been nominated 6, 5, 4, 6 and never won.
Yeah.
But the opportunity to be nominated, it's something that they are part of that ecosystem of Grammy nominees. Anywhere you go in the world, once you're nominated, the Grammy gives you the opportunity. You are given an award and a certificate of recognition. Everywhere you go, you are addressed as
a Grammy
nominated artist. So
are you looking forward to more nominations? I mean, are you working, maybe not necessarily targeting nominations, but are you looking forward in the future to many more of those coming and hopefully bagging a Grammy sometime?
Well, the thing is that I got nominated not because I was focused on it. I was nominated because I was focused on expanding my artistry and being inspired by new inspirations, and then challenging myself to to reach states of excellence in my craft. And I think that, when you start thinking the other way around, that you're chasing for a nomination, it will not come that way. You have to create the works, because by your deeds you shall be known.
Yeah.
So it's through your work that you're able to create, because people like myself, the nomination did not come as a means because we had a great marketing plan, we had our country behind us, we had a big promotional budget around America and all of that kind of stuff to facilitate the nomination. Always came because our music did it for ourselves.
It resonated with the people.
It resonated with people. So we did it through our music. So the thing is that is the only way that we have to focus to keep doing it. If another one comes, that's fine. But the thing is that I've already been nominated,
Yeah.
So I just have to keep doing the works that I'm doing, and also I feel that it should also be an inspiration for our artists to know that this is something that all of a sudden is not out of reach for Ghanaian artists,
possible.
despite the fact that we have not had those big institutions to be able to push and project us there. We've been able still, through the excellence of our craft, been able to reach there. So that means that if we stick to that, there's no other wall that we cannot breach with our art.
Rocky Dawuni is rocking it in the studios of Africa Global Radio this afternoon. Time check, 56 after noon. In Lagos, Nigeria, that is 56 after 1. In Joburg, 56 after 2 p.m. In Addis Ababa and Nairobi, 56 minutes after 3. This afternoon, we're going a little after 1 p.m. as we host the man, multiple award-winning, multi-talented, and of course, Grammy-nominated Rocky Dawuni. He still is here with us in the studios. And of course, this show, Art Africa, is brought to you in collaboration with the Creative Writing Academy. At the tail end, we'll tell you a bit more about them. It's like asking to pick among children, but I do it all the time. Which would be your favorite song or favorite set of songs that you've put out there? All your 7 albums, which would be your favorite? I know, that's a tricky one.
That's a question I could not, because every song has its own character. It's like having children and then starting to pick favorites. Even songs that most people miss and don't like, sometimes that's the song that you personally like because there's a certain resonance. It was inspired by some. So it's very hard to really. There's some that are popular because of the way they are. And then they are popular so that they resonate with, like songs like Jerusalem, I'll be traveling, and it's a very popular song among very religious people. I'll go and people love that song. In Israel, people love that song, So, but then in Ghana, you find
it's the other way.
Yeah, in
I
Ghana,
listened to a song of yours once. I think it was used for the FIFA.
Yes.
And I loved it. I was like, how come I never heard the song?
There's African Reggae Fever. There's, also Download the Revolution was used for FIFA.
Yes, I think that's what I listened to.
Yeah, and then
Download the Revolution.
Wig the Town was used for FIFA. African Thriller was used for FIFA. And then even the last album on Branches the Same Tree, we had certain songs being used on American movies. Ice Cube's last movie had a track from Branches of the Same Tree that was used on there. The current album has had Beats of Zion has had about 2 songs already being used in American TV shows. So every album has had the ability not only to break boundaries when it comes to just a traditional musical area of listenership or viewership like YouTube and all of that, but it's also been able to permeate the fabric of popular culture as represented in American television, which is distributed around the world.
And that just shows how multi-talented you are, how you're able to fuse so many things and call it what? Afro roots. In fact, let's listen right now to that revolution, yeah? Download the revolution.
Yes.
Download it.
There comes a time when the table was turned.
I absolutely love listening to Africa Global Radio. Please, guys, keep listening. Let's keep Africa going.
Download this revolution.
I want all my brothers and my sisters to say, yeah.
This conscious music revolution.
You have to take a stand, all you have to say is yeah.
Download this revolution.
I want all my brothers and my sisters to say, yeah.
A rebel music stirring up commotion.
You have to take a stand, all you have to say is yeah.
Download this revolution. Upload this, download this revolution. The internet is gonna blaze with it. Babylon newspaper will not mention it. For so long they try to keep us back, yeah. Year to year, song to song, here we come. Download this revolution.
I want all my brothers and my sisters to say, yeah.
This conscious music revolution.
Yeah, take a stand. All you have to say is yeah.
Download this revolution.
I want all my brothers and my sisters to say, yeah.
To wipe away the musical pollution.
Yeah, take a stand. All you have to say is yeah.
Download this, download this, download this revolution. Upload this, download this, download this revolution. The playing field keeps leveling. Every door them shutting keep on opening. A new vibe to run this nation, yeah. Peer to peer, soul to soul, heart to heart.
Africa Global Radio.
Download the revolution. You know, I get so proud when I'm talking to people like Rocky, not just because he's from our continent, not just because he's from my country, but I grew up with this man. You know, I grew up on his music. And looking at how far he's come, you know, it sort of sets the pace for some of us to know that, look, if you continue at what you do and if you do it well, I believe in doing well everything you do,
Yes.
you can get there. You can arrive at those heights. I mean, I don't think when you started with your music, you were thinking Grammy Award.
No, you know, the thing is that you strive to be the best you could ever be. You know, so you don't have to have that champion mindset.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but the champion mindset is not based upon ego. It's based upon practical, hard work and also striving for excellence. You see, so if you base it upon those attributes, then it's not like you just think that you're God's gift to people. You know, you rather know that you are a gift of God and you have to work to be worthy of that gift.
Rocky Dawuni in the studio sharing copiously, you know, words of wisdom with us. But on that very note, what is the best advice that you've ever been given by anybody that spurred you on, that, you know, helped you rise to the heights that you've attained, that you can share with our listeners across Africa and the rest of the world?
Okay, so this is actually a very interesting story. So I haven't told the story a lot. I mean, because you mentioned, that's why.
Great.
So one of when I first in Ghana had come out, it had become very popular in the US because it was licensed by Putumayo World Music, and they put out a record called Reggae the Next Generation, and that became one of their biggest sellers. So all of a sudden I was booked to tour the US. So I had the opportunity of playing the WOMAD Festival for the first time, and I was booked myself, Femi Kuti.
Wow. You on the same platform with Femi?
Yes, with Femi Kuti. You know, that was my first. I've played with Femi a lot, you know, in so many different. But that was the first. You know, so myself. What's her name? Miriam Makeba.
Okay.
At that time,
another African giant.
Yes, that was like, you know, later Miriam's later life. She had just been brought back again to do like a legacy album, and they had put her on tour, you know, and she was, you know, by now, you know, older in her age.
Yeah.
So during the tour, when we got to Seattle, you know, we had started from New York. When we got to Seattle was 2 nights. So the first night, you know, I had a concert, and I remember, you know, because everybody was just hyped on my new music, you know, this artist from Africa, packed audience. So in the midst of playing, I jumped up during one of the songs. I jumped up, and when I landed on my ankle and twisted my ankle on stage.
Ouch. Ooh.
You see, but nobody knew, and I went through the performance, everything. But then the bigger stage festival show was the following day. So I landed, and then afterwards, you know, everybody was hailing, you know, and then all of a sudden we needed a wheelchair to carry me from the place where I was to even go do press.
And I'm sure the people were thinking, what happened to him?
Yeah, what happened? No, they didn't see it on stage because I literally went through all of it on stage.
Rocky Dawuni, you're telling me you twisted your ankle
and then finished the show.
You complete. How long did you have to be on your
well,
twisted ankle?
It was probably about another 20 more minutes of the show.
You're kidding me.
And then you just mix it into your show. That's why, you improvise, And then afterwards, got backstage, this place was like totally swollen, my ankle. And then the following day was a big concert. So I went, they had to start it, after the press, and they had to do all these treatments and all of that, And then I got to the hotel. I was sitting, this was, my first major tour of the U.S., as an artist, everybody was excited about me, and I had this big show the following day, and I was getting ready, and I'd already hyped up this crowd, but at the end of it, I twisted my ankle when I needed it for the following day show. So I was sitting in the lobby, with presses on my ankle, and then also limping and all of that. And then I looked in the corner, it was Miriam Makeba sitting there.
Wow.
Just looking at me. And then she beckoned me to come up, and I was looking. I was like, okay. So
You limped over?
I got up. I limped over, and I went. And she's like, I saw you play yesterday. She's like, you cannot let this issue that you have win over you. And then she said, you're an African man. Just go out there and do your thing. You are stronger than this. So it was an advice that she saw me struggling with it. She could probably see the conflict in my mind that, wow, I wish I was at my perfect best, to do the show the following day. And here I am, with this big platform tomorrow to do the big stage. And here I am, injured. Injured when I'm just right within striking distance of that. And she gave me that pep talk. And then the following day, I just went on stage and literally performed.
Literally rocked it again.
Literally rocked it through all of that, And I think that has stayed with me, the importance of knowing that we can always rise above any accepted norms of limitation.
Physical, spiritual, whatever it is.
Yes.
You can rise above it.
You can rise above it. We are transformative beings. And our transformation comes with the trust that we have that power and the magic within us to be that. And then for me, that is even a lesson that I keep going around and telling a lot of the youth here in the country that, this is who we are, the youth of Africa, the people of Africa. We've been resilient. We've been part of this incredible continent that has supported and built empires. Europe, America were all built upon the shoulders and resources of Africa.
Interestingly.
Both human resource and also real financial resource and wealth were all siphoned from here to build all those empires. So Africa is a mother not only to Africans, it's a mother of empires. Whether they allow it, whether they recognize it, or whether they still
distort it, whatever it is.
Distort it and
remains
spin
what it is.
In the long run. The universe knows the truth.
Dawuni
yes,
there.
man.
And so that inspiration he got from Zenzile Miriam Makeba, nicknamed, famously Mama Africa. Unfortunately, we lost her in the year 2008 there. That is some, very, very important, inspiration coming your way from Rocky Dawuni. Now, talking about the music landscape, especially here in Africa, and you see how our artists are suffering. That's why when I read about that studio you're putting up somewhere in Ebri on the back of what Rita Marley, right? Started the concept.
Yes.
I was so enthused because there are so many talented youth out here, and some of them, it's just that little push, that little pep.
It's a little push, and then also to create, we have to recognize that we can create an ecosystem for our music here without having to hinge it upon success in other places.
Okay.
You see, so that's what we have to focus to build. Africa is it's a huge continent. About 1 billion, I think 1.3, billion people.
Just about.
So imagine that huge market. If that huge market starts interacting with each other, how powerful that can be. We don't need to generate economic volume based upon somebody. We don't need, and then we have the youngest people in the world, and also we now have to all think about how to, create, shall I say,
avenues for the youth to thrive?
No, I'll say more create means to equip the youth with the skill set and the mindset to be able to harness what we have as a means of moving forward, because the youth don't have to think that power lies in being in somebody's land or traveling to somebody's land. And obviously, right now with the COVID-19 thing that is going on, that whole thing has changed.
Yep.
So it has become even more relevant for us to now try to recognize the power as a power from within, and seeing how we can use our. So for me, part of that is the creative space.
Okay.
Working on that space and building that space, and now making it like a hub for innovation, cultural innovation, and music and inspiration, and bringing youth together, and then also a cross section of the diaspora and also the motherland is something that its time has come. So. And I know that a lot of people too are working in those spheres to create those institutions, like Africa Global Radio.
Of course.
Yeah, it's a very important and timely aspect to project African culture, to project African creativity, elevate creative minds here so that they can have value in terms of what they're creating. And not every day everybody's waiting for a government to come and do that, when we have able-bodied people with incredible intellectual faculties who can be able to create anything that they set their minds on. And those are the people we need to catalyze and inspire and spur for them to go forth and recognize their power and just do it.
Reminds me of that tree proverb. Nyofru duapano, ene ye piano.
Ene ye piano.
To wit,
Yes.
He who climbs the good tree is the one who gets the push. In other words, you have the talent, you have the creativity, bring it on board and we'll give you the push. And that often happens to be what is lacking on the continent.
But sometimes, nyofru duapano, obiye in piano. Nyankopon ekwe.
Okay, in English that would be what, because our listenership is from all over Africa and the rest of the world.
I'm just putting an adjustment and rejoinder to that whole thing too, that the person who climbs the good tree sometimes doesn't get the hands that push him, but it's God that pulls him up.
Okay.
So it shows that if you climb a good tree, you are supported on both sides. Because the proverb is nyofru duapano, onuna ye piano. So that is coming. But at the same time, Sue, whilst you're being pushed, fate and destiny and everything is also pulling you towards,
conspire to get you in that direction. And I totally, here's something else I'll add to that. Sometimes here in Africa especially, we have the pull him down syndrome. So sometimes you're trying to get to the top and others are trying to actually pull you down.
It's not only in Africa.
Well, of course, but here we call it that syndrome, the pull him down. That's how we call it here.
Exactly.
So in that instance, it is God who will get you
to the top,
there.
Because some of those hands that are pulling you will pull you for a bit and then hang on. With their weight too, in terms of I'm just being
exactly on that very note. If you could change anything or point to anything that ought to change on the artistic musical landscape here in Africa, what one thing would you point to?
I think that the music is, because of the new focus on African music, there's so much rush in terms of producing very, shall I say, unmemorable music. Everybody's following the hits and the production.
It's a hit today for 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah.
Yet we still listen to the Fela Kutis, we still listen to the Osibisas, we still listen to Rocky Dawuni.
Exactly. The thing is that people, and that's not to criticize or anything, but to also challenge the young artists that, you can have that ability and still create something that is pushing the music, the boundaries of the music. Not that everybody, once something gets famous, then everybody starts copying and multiplying that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? People just need to be able to push. This is a continent of creativity. God even gave us more tribes than anybody. You go to one country, we get so many tribes with different language, different foods. Which place do you go to see that diversity? You see, so God has given that diversity to be able to even fuel so many different universes, because we have unique languages, unique culture, that we can start a whole nother, race with that know-how. And it's all here incubated in Mama Africa, the foundation stone and the cornerstone of the world. So for me, African youth need to know, say, you have so many options.
I like the way you fused, a bit of pigeon in there. Make we go.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That one, everybody for no say, I be local boy where I speak pigeon pa. So yeah. So people have to see that, and we have to also understand that this is our moment. All that is going on around the world, everybody is shutting their borders. Everybody is trying to protect themselves. At the same time, too, everybody is trying to push black people one way or the other out.
Yep.
Black people are losing that, sense of security in so many democracies that have said that they were guarantees of the fundamental, human rights and justice for all humanity. But then,
for which reason now we have Black Lives Matter. The
exactly. But
in
terms of action, what is really going on in the ground, it's not the case. So that means that black people need to now stand for each other here. This is the continent of our ancestors. This is the continent that we've been given. Let's make this continent great. Let's develop this. Let's all the our brothers and sisters who are in the diaspora, all of them who have a lot of wealth, to know that if they bring all that wealth from the diaspora and invest it in Africa, it's going to be ours. One way or it's going to be for our children and a generation of Africans and black people who are going to be inheritors of that. As long as we protect it, we're seeing that you can be able to go in other man's land and build your castles in the long run for them to even question your ability to even have a representation on that land. So we should cast our gaze back to Africa, because Africa is going to be the space where all of mankind, ultimately, salvation is going to come from this continent. We came
from here. Historically, they will tell us that life started from here.
This was the
and
beginning.
Everything is here. We have this thing in Ghana, Sankofa.
Yes.
Sankofa Yenchi.
Yes.
Going back to take what's good is not bad.
Exactly. And then it's a wheel. When the wheel, you start from a point, you go forward only to come back to where you started.
To the very same point.
Where you started.
Our guest this afternoon, I'm so excited. Yes. Rocky Dawuni, rocking it in the studios of Africa Global Radio. Let me just let you know, if you've missed the beat this far, I have a few questions for him, and we're going to be wrapping up. But, of course, the feed will be there, so you can still benefit from it. We're live on Facebook at Africa Global Radio. Africa Global Radio. Just key in that on Facebook, connect with us, and let's get roaring. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. I'm here with Rocky Dawuni. Let's wrap up on these 3 points, starting with your activism and your goodwill work. I mean, you're doing some fantastic work out there. You're a cultural diplomat. You are with the United Nations. You're a goodwill ambassador for the African and global environment and all of that. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, I mean, not to brag in terms of my affiliations, but I am currently a UN Goodwill Ambassador for Environment for the continent of Africa. I also currently serve on the Leadership Council of Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights. Wow. I'm also an ambassador for the Global Cooking Alliance, where I serve as a global ambassador alongside our second lady, Her Excellency
Rebecca Akufo-Addo.
No.
The second lady. Samira
Bawumia, where I serve with her on that initiative too. I'm also on the Leadership Council of Born Free USA, okay. And through my career too, I've had opportunity of working a lot in both the diplomatic space and also in terms of global leadership, space in the United Nations ecosystem, because I've also felt the importance that, it's not only about being able to talk about issues or shedding light on issues. You also have to figure out the mechanism of creating that same change that you want to happen, making it tangible for it to happen on the ground. And you can't make changes on the ground by talking about peace on stage only. you have to be on the ground. You have to work with organizations. You have to go visit places that need that kind of healing. You have to go to places that have just come from war and are trying to build up. I've traveled, to Rwanda, gone and work with, a lot of refugees. I've been to the border, of Congo and Rwanda, where people are running and come. I've gone to meet the refugees, meet people, find out what their problems is. The opportunity to within the UN world, be able to communicate this. So there's been a lot of work that I've done, not only in the human rights sector, but also women empowerment, environment, land rights, because I also believe that our land is the most important thing. It's the only thing that you cannot sell, because land is where people make their money. So if you go and take money for land, then somebody cheated you. So we have to protect our natural resources. We have to protect our rivers, the source of clean water. We have to protect our biodiversity, which is the most important in our forests, which we are losing a lot in Africa, because right now even many of our leaders are selling that asset to foreign interests.
The
Chinese.
The Etiwa forest is used
to Chinese and other.
And there's Galamsey, which is also polluting our land.
But the thing is that the
water bodies.
The land and the water, the amount of money you go and receive for the land, somebody can even sell that water to other places and then be able to pay you back from your own land. So you don't sell land as an asset. And Africa, because we have one of the highest rising youth populations, our land is going to be very key for our future generation. So if this generation sells that land, then you're going to have a big population that lives on the continent but don't have access to the most important thing for their development, and you have other foreign interests who control that. So that would mean that you are selling the youth into future slavery, because without your land you don't have any freedom. We should look at African Americans over there. The problem that's going on is that African Americans, because they came into America on the backs of slavery, they did not automatically have land. Most of them who had land, and that was even given them, were pressured into either abandoning those lands or selling them off. And now they don't own a lot of America. So once you don't have most of the land, then that economic prosperity and foundation that you need to build, it's going to be an illusion that you can pursue, but you can never be able to attain it.
And that is why some people have spoken about the influence of, I don't want to mention names, but the Chinas, the USs, the Russias, and the rest, and how our leaders are collaborating with them. Yes, we need to spur the movement for the continent to progress, especially economically and all of that. But as we do so, let's be careful, else we could sell out the current and future
the thing
generations.
Is that you can do partnership with people, but partnership does not mean I sell my house to somebody and that's partnership. That's betrayal of trust.
Let's move on from there. Two quick issues to run by you. Now, COVID-19, you mentioned it. It's changed everything. I'm sure maybe there are shows you've had that you've had to now do go virtual for, and all of that. But I want to specify, what has the impact been on the music industry? And again, as you've been here in Accra, I don't know for how long you've been in town now, but what have you seen? Are people observing the protocols? What are the concerns for you?
Well, first of all, this was a situation, obviously, that nobody predicted. Nobody knew where it came from. Nobody even knows where it came from up till now. It's all speculations, and, the information that we have is still all conflicting. But what we know is that most systems were disrupted. Flights were disrupted. A lot of economic activity was put on pause. A lot of human movement was put on pause. So basically, life as we know it was suspended. And then what happened was that several artists and people whose work depended on movement, all of a sudden that was gone. So you had a means of livelihood one day, and the following day, you don't even know what it looks like.
You had nothing.
You have nothing. And that's what has happened around the world. A lot of the shows that, this year were all planned. We had a European tour, a whole lot of other stuff. It's just totally were canceled. And not only we, the artists, are losing But then even our agencies that depended on the artists touring as their business, like all the booking agencies, a lot of them are closing down because there's no way to make money. The only way they make money is from touring artists. So that business is collapsing too. Record labels, probably are going to survive a little bit because of the online stuff, but you don't have, if your investment is in terms of touring artists, then, that is also broken. Then all the people that these arts support too. And it's not only art. When you look even right now in our, since this happened, African countries have lost, most of the jobs have evaporated. And we have not had the time to sit and take stock as to how...
In the United States, they can, enumerate that we've lost X number of jobs. There are, the unemployment figures have skyrocketed.
Yeah, they skyrocketed. Here
since the Great Depression, we've not seen like
this.
But
This is
here,
America. This is America,
exactly,
where they have,
systems in place to check
systems
on all
in
of
place
those.
to check and then be able to have the right database and the right data to be able to have a clear vision of this. I mean, here too, I've seen some of the figures, especially when it comes to Africa, and it's been staggering. But most importantly, it's eroded the informal sector, which has been the foundation stone of our economic model in Africa.
It's the bedrock here.
It's the bedrock
A
here.
lot of what you see here is not the white-collar jobs. It's
No,
the
no,
blue-collar
no,
jobs.
no,
It's
no,
the
no,
people,
blue-
the small startups.
There's-
It's the people who are doing
exactly the stores. When you go to the market, the guys in between who are doing their business here, the spare parts dealer, the guy with the water seller, the market woman. Those are the people who are important and have shored up African economies all these years. About 80% of our economic volume and stuff is on the shoulders of this. But because of the shutdowns, the disruption in supply chains, and also the disruption in sources of sources of product and produce, because you were the airports and the ports were all closed, and you didn't have like that much of a movement too within land. There's been a lot of loss, both from post-harvest losses, for products that have been produced or have been agricultural products that have not been able to find their way to the market because there's no market. And when there was the lockdown, there was not a lot of movement, so most of the stuff was left in the farms. A lot of them probably went rotten.
You had gluts, you had people, farmers
So
losing
there's
out and all of that.
so the loss is not only in terms of people losing their jobs, livelihood. The loss is also in terms of produce and stuff that could have been used in terms of helping to shore up our economy and also help people. But then all of that stuff has been lost. So we have to know that we are going into another stage where things are going to be much more difficult.
Yeah.
The difficulty is going to come. It's not a matter of whether or not. It's going to come because now for us to move forward, we need to bring all these people back onto their feet again to be able to support the economy, because most of them too, they're not people who have money laying anywhere. Their business runs on the capital that they have. They have very minimal capital, and that's what they use. And then most of them during the lockdown too, they had to use that to survive.
Yep.
And most of their capital is gone.
Tricky.
So if we are thinking strategically, we know that the first thing that we need to do is to be able to put micro investment in this sector, and shore up these people to be able to stand back on their feet, and all these businesses to start thriving again, and then become a means to, so not without talking too much and too long, I just feel that the opportunity is there. We just have to see the times as an opportunity to also reinvigorate and change the paradigm by acting upon our own initiative. Yes.
We need that shift in the paradigm. Let me just, hit you with this final one, and then it's a wrap. What's next for you, Rocky Dawuni? What's next? 7 studio albums. What's
There's
next?
a lot happening. There's a lot of music coming. I am, using the opportunity, being here. Apart from pushing for tree planting initiatives that I'm actually working, one with the mayor of Accra.
Okay.
I'm also working on another tree planting initiative in the northern region. in the town of Bumbong in the Yendi district.
Okay.
Where I'm launching another tree planting initiative over there. I'm also focused on agriculture. I love agriculture, so I'm also involved in a lot of farming, which I've been talking about. A lot of people, get back to the land, grow food wherever you are, have a farm. This is the only way you can deal with this current situation. Have your own farm, and then, the thing is that, as I was saying, that this is the time for all the sons and daughters of Africa to be here, to be part of the COVID-19 is not for you to hide in your house with your masks on and hide from your responsibility to move the continent forward. Because if you're in your room closed and you are not moving the continent forward, nobody's doing it for you. So Africans, we have to know that we have to move the continent forward. And then and the narrative as to the decisions we take for ourselves shouldn't be dedicated or dictated by others. We have to have our own plan, and we have to have a clarity as to where we want to go. And the plan has to be resonating with ourselves and our future and what we want to do. So I feel that this is the time for us to look deep in who we are so that we can have a clarity of vision as to where we are going.
You know what? For me, you're one of those Hall of Famers when it comes to the continent and beyond. No matter what people say. Yeah. You're out there. I know there's much more to come, but even right now for us, you're a Hall of Famer. You're a big one.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank
God
you so much
bless us.
for coming. And we do this whenever we have one, a painter, a music artist, a literary, luminary coming through the studio. We have the person give out, a motivational quote, something just about a minute.
Yeah.
Give us some motivation. Those listening to us from across the continent and beyond.
Well, motivational quote, a lot of times, when I'm put on the spot, I usually will take a proverb because I like proverbs. A proverb is something that you can. And one of my favorite proverbs, actually, I think it comes from, if I'm not mistaken, it comes from either Things Fall Apart or it was a Chinua Achebe inspired African proverb. And I quote this everywhere I go. It says that when the hunter learns to shoot without missing, the birds will have to learn to fly without perching.
I think it's Chinua Achebe.
I think it's Chinua Achebe,
He speaks of, I think, Eneka, the bird, which has learned to fly without, perching. And the hunter having learned to shoot without missing.
So for me, it shows how you have to constantly be dynamic and adjust according to reflect the purpose and the challenge of the time. So whoever you are, don't be afraid to, in the middle of the whole thing, to make the adjustment that is required to make your path even much more, because you don't have all the answers, but you have to trust in terms of, stepping into the fray and acting upon what you believe in. Because some of the answers will come out of you having just the being bold enough to take, the plunge into embracing your destiny. So it's like Africa. Now we are facing the situation is the hunter who has learned to shoot without, because that's the situation we are facing.
Yeah.
It's an elevation of the challenge. So what do we do as the birds? We have to learn to fly without perching. We have to adjust. And that adjustment means looking back into Africa, empowering our creative art, empowering our artists, pushing our culture, embracing our land, cleaning our waters, replanting the trees, inspiring the youth with new ideas, green economy, solar economy, all these new ideas that can take a people and transform them into a powerhouse of a next generation. We should embrace all those things, both from the people to the business people to the leadership, and know that this is the blueprint for us for the future to be an African future, because it's only waiting for us to step into that space.
34 minutes off the top of the hour, 1:34 here in Accra, Ghana. That is 2:34 in Lagos right now. It's 3:34 in Joburg, South Africa. In Addis Ababa in Ethiopia and Nairobi in Kenya, it is actually 4:44. Well, it's been a huge pleasure I don't know how to thank you, but we're immensely grateful. This is about the third time I'm actually interacting with you on a personal level.
That's beautiful.
It's always brilliant. You're like a refreshing book. Each time there are new things to learn. Keep
Thank
on
you.
keeping on, and keep on being, the fantastic person you are. We wrap up on Art Africa this afternoon on Africa Global Radio. And of course, we're leaving you with something beautiful from the man that we just spoke to, Rocky Dawuni. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. The Creative Writing Academy collaborated with us to actually bring you this great program. Do connect with us, same time next week at noon on the dot. That is Ghana time. That is GMT. We'll be back, and you'll hear a bit more from the Creative Writing Academy right after this one. It's a wrap. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. Let's connect same time next week. In the meantime, Rocky Dawuni in the background with Road to Destiny. Africa, rise up.
Africa Global Radio. It tells our story, it supports our growth, and it is the future.
I love Africa Global Radio.
There is no place I own to call my home. I struggle just to make it through on the road to destiny. My mama said, son, don't you ever give anything you can afford to lose. Men will try to seize control of your role in destiny. Destiny, 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 destiny. Run, run, run as fast as I can. I can't outrun my fate. Destiny, destiny, let me be destiny. It's my life, my life, my life. All I got is faith. So many questions have I asked. The answers don't amount to solutions. But I never give up hope on the road to destiny. Time is always right to do what is right. With all my might, I strive to write the chapter in this book of life on the road to destiny. Destiny, 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 destiny. Run, run, run as fast as I can. I can't outrun my fate. Destiny, destiny, let me be destiny. It's my life, my life, my life. All I got is faith. Oh, na, 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 na. Oh, na, na, na. Oh, 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 oh. Patrolling on the streets of my old neighborhood.
Africa Global Radio.
Hypocrites were still up to no good. Caught up in the false pretense on the road to destiny.